Hi, Chief Halton here, and welcome back to REV's Apparatus and Technology Conference. We are in the final throes of day 3. It's been just an amazing week here in Ocala, Florida. There's a bunch of stuff up on demand for you to take a look at. We've had just 3 amazing days looking at some of the most incredible rigs, and then some very important technology. We've had some really great stories that were told and some great innovations that were shown. So please check us out on demand. And also please take a chance and thank our sponsors, Darley, IDEX, United Safety, Whelan, and Hendrickson. Those are some great companies, and they've been great sponsors. We tried to make this as educational as we possibly could so that your experience would make you a really informed and really capable buyer. And we hope that we've met that goal. We've got one more pumper to look at, and unfortunately we don't have one here for you to walk around, but we do have a tremendous video, and I'm really excited about it. But before we get to that video, I want to bring in my buddy and Chris Wade, and Chris is going to tell us a lot about the Smeal Corporation because it's got a great backstory, right? And you're going to want to hear this. So Chris, tell us a little bit about Smeal, would you?
Great. Thanks, Bobby. In the Spartan brands, we actually have quite a few locations and companies. On Tuesday, we talked about Spartan chassis, and Jeff is going to be here in case there are any questions on the chassis side. But then we have a fire side as well. And with the fire products, we have 3 locations. Brandon, South Dakota, which is our Spartan ER pumpers and tankers. The Smeal facility in Brand, which is in Snyder, Nebraska, and Ladder Towers in Ephrata, Pennsylvania. The Ladder Towers facility in Smeal started building aerials in the 1970s. Heavy-duty aerials way ahead of the industry, so we've got a long record with those brands. At the Smeal location, we also built some pumpers, and we're going to look at one of their pumpers today with one of our best customers. They're all great, but this is one of the best. And I'll let you roll in because you know these folks a little bit.
I do know these folks. As a matter of fact, I know these folks very well. They're my friends up in Calgary, Alberta. So hi, everybody. And see, I'm one American who says Calgary, not Calgary. So Calgary, Alberta, it's the home of the rodeo, which is just amazing. If you've never been, it's one of the most fantastic experiences you can ever have. You won't find a more welcoming or friendlier city. And you talk about a Class A fire department. I've known this fire department for over 25 years, and they are as squared away and buttoned up as you possibly could want to be. They're run by some of the finest people in the country. And I just found out that they're a huge Smeal customer. So we're going to be looking at a Smeal custom top-mounted enclosed pumper. And what was fascinating, I didn't know we were going to have this segment before we did this, but when we did the Spartan walkthrough, Jeff, remember, one of their chassis, one of their cabs was getting put together. And my friend Erin, who was with me, Erin Moriarty, she was looking at it and she said, "What's that big cutout for?" And it's where the pump panel was going to come through so that the pump panel could be enclosed. And I said, "It's going to Calgary. It gets cold in Calgary." And they take care of their people. Seriously, it's a really serious fire department. And it's a great fire department. It's a great city. It's just a wonderful place to go. Please, if you ever get a chance, go say hi. And if you're a firefighter, they call it being on the floor. So when you get there, say, "Hey, you mind if I hang out on the floor?" That means hanging out in the fire station. So they're super folks. And so tell us a little about the relationship between Calgary and Smeal.
Well, it's one of the reasons I say they're one of our best customers. This truck that we're going to show today, and one of the ones you saw on the floor in the walkthrough, that's part of an order of 9 pumpers. With this 9, that's going to be 48 pumpers that they have from the Smeal Corporation. And again, great customer taken care of by one of our top dealerships, SafeTech, and it's part of the relationship. And so it's a combination of our product, what they need, us listening to them, and the dealership taking care of them.
So when somebody buys 48 of anything, they trust the folks they're dealing with. So that tells you a lot about Smeal. And the other thing to think about when we're thinking about Calgary, Alberta, is yeah, it's cold and it's tough conditions. It's really tough conditions. So obviously they're getting reliable, dependable, well-built equipment that they have grown to trust, and they're being serviced by a company, and I apologize, that was SafeTech, that's taking care of their needs. So thank you for doing that. Chris, you okay with running the video?
Absolutely.
Let's take a look at the Smeal custom top-mounted enclosed pumper that's going to my pals in Calgary, Alberta.
Hi, I'm John Gilliland. I'm the Senior Contract Administrator here at Smeal in Snyder, Nebraska. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the CAFS pumper for Calgary Fire Department. This is a 2021 truck with a 500 horsepower engine and a Rayco air ride suspension. We're going to get into a little bit about how that CAFS system works. We're going to show you around the truck, do a little bit of a walk around of the body, and explain to you some of our features. So the Calgary pumper uses a medium 4-door Spartan Gladiator chassis. This chassis has a 24-inch raised roof and an enclosed pump panel. So it keeps all your fire department personnel in and out of the inclement weather, protect them from the environment. This truck has Alcoa Dura-Brite wheels, Michelin tires, has a 500 horsepower engine, Rayco air ride suspension. This truck also has a galvanized frame to help with the inclement weather. Calgary's in an area where they deal with a lot of weather, tough environment. So this truck has a lot of underneath protection as well. Let's hop up in the cab. We'll take a look at the pump panel, and I can tell you a little bit more about the CAF system and how it works. Okay, now that we're inside, we can take a look at the functionality of this truck and the pump panel layout. So like we said before, this is a 2,000 gallon per minute pumper. It's a Waterous 2-stage pump. This is also a Waterous Eclipse CAF system with a Aquas 3 foam system. We've got 4 different discharges on this truck that are foam capable. So we've got the 2.5-inch crosslays. We've got the 2.5-inch crosslay, which has also got a bypass on it, so it can run water only. We've also got the front bumper being foam capable. We're using a InControl, it's an FRC pressure governor on this truck, and an Acura monitor. Now the nice thing about having the Acura monitor on this enclosed top mount, you got the controls right up here on the top of the pump panel. You can actually look out these windows, and the monitor's position on this truck on the driver's side rear corner of the body. So you can actually look out this cab and see where your monitor's shooting water at whenever you need to. Gives you good visibility, keeps you out of the weather. So this is a 5-man cab. We got 3 crew positions that are all rear facing. These are Bostrom 500 series seats with the Durwear Plus material. You can see the way we installed these seats is that the 2 outboard seats are actually turned at a 45-degree angle inboard and set back in towards the driver and the officer seats to give a little bit more space for getting in and out of this cab, making it more ergonomic. The Calgary pumper also utilizes an SG09 auxiliary power unit. As you can see here underneath the seats, this is the heating system for that SG09. So this will take over heating this cab when the truck is on scene and the main engine is not running. There's a separate diesel engine we'll show you in a little bit. So we talked a little bit about the SG09 system. That's the auxiliary power unit on this truck. We got 2 different control panels for that system. One was on the pump panel. One is right here within reach of the driver. So what happens is you got a diesel engine that's mounted above the body on this truck. It's kind of tough to see because we got it enclosed underneath the traffic flow board. But that system, once you stop and put the unit in park, activate the parking brake, there's a 3-minute timer that will count down. Once that 3 minutes is up, the main engine of this truck will shut down and the SG09 will fire up. Now that will allow your lights and your climate control inside the cab to remain functional during an emergency call when you're not using the pump. So once the SG09 system is running on scene, you can either manually disable that system from either one of the control panels, or simply get back in the truck, start the main engine, and the APU will shut down. So that brings us to the pump module and the body of this Calgary pumper. We use a unibody design here at Smeal, so it's a bend and brake method for our strength. The crosslays on this truck are above the pump module. There's 2.5-inch and one 2.5 crosslay. If you take a look at the top of our body, you'll see this J channel right here. That's part of the strength. That also keeps water out of the compartments. Let's go ahead and take a walk around this truck. and we'll take a quick look at the compartmentation. So as you can see, all the shelving inside the Calgary unit is a braided finish, but the interior of the compartments is a gray Line-X for durability. We've got air bottle storage in both wheel wells with safety straps, just to utilize some extra room. And as you can see through the L3 and R3 compartments, that is a transverse area. Giving ample compartmentation. So as you can see, the Calgary pumper utilizes its compartmentation really well for the length of truck that it is. Also keep in mind, along with that enclosed top mount, this pump module is also better insulated as per design because of the weather situations that they face up there. As you can see with the hydraulic ladder rack in the fully down position, we still have access to our compartmentation. So that's full access to all your gear with the ladder rack in that position. We talked before about the galvanized subframe and the chassis frame. Those are both galvanized features. We have a galvanized drop subframe as well that comes off that subframe. The subframe acts as a tank cradle. The tank sits on top of that, and there are isolators underneath that tank. And then our body actually sits down on top of that galvanized substructure. From the custom painted antenna bar to the hydraulic ladder rack to the SG09 system, the Calgary pumper is a great representation of the custom apparatus we build here at Smeal. We'd like to thank the Calgary Fire Department for allowing us to show this truck. If any of you have any questions, please contact one of your local dealers and let them know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a great day.
I thoroughly enjoyed that, and as a firefighter who spent a lot of time at a pump panel in the rain and the snow and the cold and the superheat, man, does that make you jealous? So tell us a little bit about the whole APU technology and some of the other things we saw there, because unfortunately we couldn't get a rig down here. I feel bad about that, but we've got to deliver these rigs in a timely manner. So we're delivering that rig as we speak, right? And so tell us a little bit about some more sides, and we'll bring Jeff in and we'll talk a little bit about the chassis and some other aspects of that rig. It's just a beautiful rig.
Sure. It's a truck that we couldn't stop talking about even during the video and all the features on it. We had a great time talking about it. And so one of the reasons that we picked this truck for this week to show was because we're talking about technology. And we get a lot of questions about auxiliary power units and those technologies. And of course, this has been a long-term user. The SG09 system is a system that's in-house, designed by Smeal, and it's been around for a few years. We'll talk about that one. And what we found is, in studies show that of some of the busiest fire departments, high usage fire departments, 55 to 75% of the time the truck is sitting at idle. We're getting the requirements from provinces, states, city governments on trying to get as much of all of the fleets to a certain emissions level. So what this APU system allows them to do is, as John showed in the video, the truck sits idle for 3 minutes, it'll switch over to the SG09 system. And really what happens, it starts up an auxiliary engine, which takes over, uses a quarter of the fuel of the regular diesel engine on the truck, powers its own separate 9-kilowatt generator, and you can power everything off of there. Also, as we talked about, one of the challenges, new emissions requirements in truck. By taking that off of the main power plant of the apparatus, you're putting it on here. So we start stretching those cycles out about having to regen or fill our DEF tanks. It's one of the things. Now we've gone to, there are more options today, and we continue to see this technology grow. So with all of the RevFire products that we have today, we've gone on to an Eco-Idle Tech option as well. That takes out some of the engines, some of these components. That's all lithium battery programs. And when a customer or a fire department starts looking at APU, find out specifically what you want that APU to do, what the requirements are locally, and we'll find something that's going to meet your needs of different technology levels and certainly maintenance levels as well.
I was here griping about regen. And I was griping So you just remember, firefighters always complain, nobody leaves. So I was whining, but so there's a lot more to unpack, and that's a serious issue. So much like the cars now, where they kind of go into like a sleeper mode and then they kick back on at the intersections. But for our rigs, when you're sitting waiting to get pulled up into the queue, you can we can idle for hours, just hours, and as hazmat calls and backing up the PD, you can idle for even longer. So it's actually a really fascinating piece of technology and nice. What else do we see on this particular rig that you want to point out? Power plant. I want to hear about the chassis. I want to hear more about this rig.
It's a loaded truck, and as we were trying to put the segment together earlier, we're looking through some questions. I said, let me hit all those questions that I think a lot of people are going to ask. Some it's just how much hose is it carrying in this one cross lay. But unfortunately, with the time, there are some things we didn't get to talk about on this truck. You saw the ladder rack on the side. John showed plenty of room. John's not a small guy. Plenty of room between the ladder rack and those compartments. Doesn't interfere with that access. In the middle of the hose bed, there is also a command light traffic advisor. We have the drawing in front of us, but it's almost as wide as the truck is. So they just flip that up any place they're parking, and hopefully you can do some traffic control using that. But again, another technology item, unique for them and a fantastic option.
So Chris gave me a copy of the plans yesterday. I asked for a copy of the plans for this rig, and I'd never seen a command light on a set of schematics. And it took me a second to figure out what it was. I was like, what's the waffle Gradle thing? Oh, it's the command. I had to put my glasses on. It's the command light. So obviously, it's an innovation that was after my time for spec and rigs. We didn't have that available to me when I was spec and rigs. So, but nicely done, really nicely done. So let's talk about what are we looking at in terms of how much hose can this carry? What kind of pump are we looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at technologies, and that's some of what we saw in the video. We talk about engine companies versus truck companies, but again, even beyond the technology, fully capable pumper, a lot going on this truck. On the crosslays, typical question that people are asking about, we've got 2.5 inches with 200 feet of hose. On crosslays, we've got one that's a 2.5, also 200 feet. Off the rear, 500 feet of 2.5 double jacketed hose and 1,000 feet of 5-inch large diameter hose. A lot. And as John had said, talked about some of the components. It is a Watrous two-stage 2,000 GPM pump. We've got 550 gallons of water on here in the tank. It also has a CAF system on board. CAFs is a whole nother discussion. At some point, I've watched. I used to be anti-CAFs until I saw what it could do, knocking down the fire, saving injuries, and everybody thinks it's expensive, but when you get done, get people out, you lower the chance of injuries and recur. But I tell people, if you're going to have it, you got to use it because it's expensive and it's a maintenance item.
So redemption videos, I was always a CAFs denier. And the volunteer fire department that I'm on now is all CAFs. They use CAFs on literally every single fire. And for my Canadian friends out there, you'd be happy to know that in our notes it says 30 imperial gallons, which is a uniquely Canadian way to reference 30-gallon of foam tank. So why don't we get a little bit about the chassis that went into this rig? So what did Spartan do to make? Because it's sitting on a Spartan chassis, isn't she?
Yep, sure, Bobby. This cab on this unit is a MFD, or a medium 4-door. It is set up with the enclosed pump panel style cab, of course. And what that gives you is either a 20 or 24-inch raised roof. As we see, the Calgary has a 24-inch raised roof, which can comfortably house a pump operator up to 6'5". Just gives them enormous amounts of room. Very good viewing around the whole circumference of the vehicle, and that's what we're trying to provide for them.
And that's a Spartan chassis that's galvanized. And when we're talking about our good folks up in especially up in Calgary, very important in terms of corrosion resistance. So that's a big deal. So that chassis is galvanized, and you can't go wrong up there with doing that. So let's get a little more into some of the other specs that are available. We talked a little bit about the deck gun. Now that's it's completely remote.
Sure, absolutely. It's pre-piped. It's at the rear of the truck for better visibility. And as John was showing you from the control panel, you can see the entire operation of that nozzle. Put it where you want to. But understand, this is, again, not a cookie cutter opportunity here. talk to any of our people. We have different materials that we can use in the body, whether it's aluminum or stainless. But there are different controls you can use up there as well. So you talk to our folks. We listen to you. One of the capabilities we have on the Spartan brand, you tell us what your needs are. We'll find the material, we'll find the body style that works best for you and get you a nice truck. We've got a lot of flexibility in that, and we can do a lot of customization.
Well, we saw a lot of Spartan product this week, and they don't disappoint. And just a fantastic visit up there. And it was fun to see that now I know one of those rigs, when I get out to see my friends again, I'll be able to say, I remember when this was just a cab on the ground, man. And I was in her, because Jeff and I were there, and I went in to stand in it, and it was like, holy mackerel, 6'5". That's a lot of room. So really well done. But what is the power plant on this rig?
That's an ISX 12 500 horsepower engine that we've got in that truck.
That's a 12.
A 12, I'm sorry, yeah, it's a 12. And it's, of course, we can go up to the next, we can go up to the 15,600 horsepower, so whatever your needs are. And again, we'll do the analysis on the weight of your truck, figure out what your requirements are, and talk about that. Of course, the bigger the engine, the more it's going to cost, so I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Well, just outside of Calgary, it's very mountainous. You got Banff National Park comes right down to it, and so when you're in that region, there are some really good grades. And so I could see where in some of my fleet, if it was up to me, I might go. But that's a big engine. That's a big engine. But so, anything else?
Sure, and as you had said, there's a difference between West Coast and East Coast. And again, get out, visit other fire departments, find out what worked for them, why they do. One of the questions actually was about insulation. Of course, when you get into, especially Canada, we get in these top-mount enclosed pumpers. You're talking about heat pans in the pump panel, more sealing in there to keep the heat within that pump, keep the water lines from freezing. So, there's just more in there. The cab itself has more insulation, plus additional heaters as well, higher output in the HVAC system.
Well, we do have a couple of questions that came in, so thank you for that. So is there an option for a stainless steel body?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, custom built. There's different controllers you can use as well. You can go anywhere from all electric to what Calgary was showing, and we're working on some other options up there as well.
So we just kind of touched on the better insulation package, and it's not just as important for the comfort of the crew and such, but for the actual water supply. Your water supply can actually freeze, so that's important. What else are you building into, the Smil custom top-mounted? Take Calgary out for a moment. Don't mean to offend my friends, but what other kinds of customizations available in a top-mounted enclosed pumper from Smil?
Well, as I tell people all the time, sometimes we really want to find mission specific. When you talk to your salesman, when you talk to your dealership, let them know what you want the truck to do for you, and they'll work together with you to come out with a great package. Remember, we're in the custom building business, so we can make it for what you need and what you want it to do. One of the unique things, well, I can't say it's unique, it's really in all of our brands, it's the passion that our employees have, and everybody should remember that. These are folks, too. We talked the other day about the opportunities to come, career opportunities at all of our facilities, that you still serve the public. Our folks know what they do, and they're happy to do that work, so they're very passionate about the work that they do every day.
So, and I'll point out, Jeff, you've got 30 years?
26, yes, sir.
26 years working with Spartan Motors.
Yep.
That's fantastic. And when we were up there, Jeff was invaluable. We were looking at the SC94 and all the custom work that was going on. It's just amazing to see. And you talk about Smil and you talk about durable, hardcore ladders. When you see the cooperation between two iconic brands and under that umbrella of that unique, incredible chassis, that what goes on there is just amazing. If you ever get a chance to get up into Charlotte, that is an experience that any firefighter will treasure for the rest of their lives, because you actually get to see the rigs from the ground up. So I got to thank you again, because that was one of the highlights of my career, was being able to see rigs being born.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I've killed a lot of them, but I'd never seen one be born before. So that was a pretty unique experience. Well, are we good, guys?
I
think so. You know, to highlight what you just said, and we talked about in one of the Zoom calls the other day before we had more people on board, everybody in the fire service at some time in your career, get to a manufacturer, see how trucks are built, see what really goes into that, every little piece, unique truck. You really start appreciating the truck that you have as well and see how it fits in the big picture. Differences in the floor, there are no two alike. We even get fire departments, no two alike.
And I'll tell you, you know, this is our last real manufacturer, if you will, to represent here. And this is the God's honest truth, guys and gals. They love each other. They sell different product, but they would tell you in a they would tell you in a heartbeat, you know, go talk to Jeff, or go talk to Jason, or go talk to. They would tell you in a heartbeat if they thought somebody, or Larry. They would tell you in a heartbeat if they thought somebody else was a better fit. I didn't see anybody here who was chasing a dollar. What they're chasing is the best thing for the customer, the best thing for that community. Because if you want a customer to come back to you for 48 engines, you've got to listen and you've got to do exactly what they ask. And you've got to help them, because oftentimes what we ask for is not what we need. You know, and so when you're dealing with somebody like Smeal, when you're dealing with somebody in the Rev group, you know you're dealing with somebody who's going to steer you straight. And that's the way they've been with me the whole week, because nobody has said, oh, we're better than those guys, or there's none of that. That they're all mission-driven, purpose-driven rigs that are built with a passion and a dedication to the customer and to the customer's customer. So really well done. What great way to close, because one of my favorite people, and so just wonderful time, and I got to say hi to one of my favorite fire departments. So thank you so much, everybody out there, for that part. Hey, stay with us right now. We're not even going to take a break, but I'm going to go over and visit with two of my friends. I want to show you a new piece of technology. I want to visit with my friends from United Safety, and we're going to bring in one of my other friends. Larry's going to come over, and we're going to come take a look at active air purification. So this is a really fantastic innovation, and I think it's something that the fire service needs to know about. And this is available on any Rev product, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you're dealing with a manufacturer who's in the Rev line, this is something that can go into any rig that you're speccing, truck, engine, it doesn't matter. So without belaboring anymore, I'm going to bring in the expert. So with that, Christopher, it's all yours. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this technology? Oh, you want to go first, Larry?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Larry.
Kind of lead into that a little bit. You know, you mentioned Calgary and how they take care of their people, and we've spent the last couple of days really talking about safety, health and safety at the fire service, and what all of these trucks that we've looked at, safety is always in mind and keeping the firefighters safe to and from. But there are a lot of things out there right now that need a little bit more protection than just a safe cab or a safe aerial or a safe body. So in the spirit of taking care of the people, you know, when we introduced this back in October of last year, we started shipping these things in December, and we've already shipped several hundred of these. And we've had a lot of departments that have really bought in a big way to take care of their firefighters and their men and women that are out there serving their communities. Our local department here was the first one on board. Marion County, Florida, Marion County Fire Rescue purchased 70 units right out of the bat, put one in every truck that they had, all the reserve pieces, ambulances, fire trucks. They're putting them in every truck that we build for them right now. Hillsborough County down around the Tampa area purchased 67 of them, again for fleet already in service. Columbus, Georgia, 35 plus. So lots of departments have got into this in a big way, and just looking for that opportunity to protect their firefighters. We do. I promised I wasn't going to hawk anything earlier, but we do have these in stock at Rev Parts, able to be able to shipped out to you and your fire department. And as Bobby said, this is available on any Rev Fire product.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Can't pass up an opportunity, right? So this is PHI, as Jason has taught me, but it's photohydroionization. And if you want to know everything I know about photohydroionization, you just learned it. That is absolutely it. It took me 30 minutes to figure out how to say it. So I'm actually going to let Jason Whitmire from United Safety talk a little bit about the actual technology.
Thanks, Larry. Larry practiced that a lot, to say photohydroionization. It is quite a mouthful to get out. So PHI cell technology is what we call this. And The way this works, what makes this so unique to the industry is the way in which it works. It doesn't pull in bad air and push out good air. It's actually pushing out microscopic levels of hydrogen peroxide into the atmosphere. So when you get air into the unit, there's a cell inside of it and a light. And when that light goes through the quad hydraulic mesh around the cell, it produces hydrogen peroxide at a rate of about 0.02 parts per million. That's enough hydrogen peroxide to go out into the atmosphere and attack all the different viruses, bacteria, mold, mildew that are not only in the atmosphere but on surfaces. So you're getting an effect on the air that you're breathing in. You're also getting an effect on all the surfaces as the hydrogen peroxide falls onto the surface. Obviously, everybody's worried about the pandemic. SARS-CoV-2, which causes COVID-19, they're the things that we talk about the most, but this is effective on a book full of things. It's third-party tested, so we have testing that proves that it's 99.9% effective on SARS-CoV-2, both in the air and on the surface. It's effective on things like your common everyday cold, flu, common viruses, Staphylococcus, E. coli, things like just general mold and mildew, which we see in a fire apparatus because of the environment they operate in. One of the important things, you saw a lot of technology over the last 3 days. You saw a lot of complicated things. We did not want to create another device that a firefighter had to worry about. How often do I have to do maintenance on it? Is it something that I have to remember to turn on and off? We wanted it to kind of be out of sight and out of mind. Hang it in the cab and let it do its job. It's designed to run around the clock. So it's constantly giving you protection for your crew and anyone that you bring into that apparatus.
So I have a couple of questions.
Absolutely.
There's a shocker. When you say around the clock, does it run while my rig is off?
So there's a circuit that they've created for it. There's a relay that Rev sells for this. And the way that works is you've got 12 volts DC. The unit's running off of the alternator when your ignition's on. When you turn off your vehicle and pull it into the station and plug it into the shoreline, the relay pulls back in and it runs off of the batteries, but it knows it's plugged into the shoreline, so the batteries are recharging it.
As Jason said earlier, we want to make it as least complicated as possible, so we don't want somebody to have to remember, I've got to activate it, I've got to turn it on or whatever. So setting in the station, it's sanitizing that air. Going down the street, it's sanitizing that air, always on.
So once it's built into my rig, that's the last time I'm worried about doing anything with this particular unit. Correct. So how much space? I saw when I looked in the rig, this was all I saw. So when I'm talking about cab space and roof space and all that, how much more of a unit is there when this thing's being installed, Chris? What am I looking at?
So you're able to cover very easily 1,000 square feet with this device. So any cab in the industry, you're able to cover the square footage inside that cab, protecting the air and the surfaces. The unit itself, you can see it here in front of you. It's about 16.5 inches long, about 5.5 inches tall, and it can be mounted in any orientation. So it can be mounted exactly how we have it now. It can be hung upside down. It can be mounted to the wall.
So this is the whole unit?
Yes, that is the whole unit.
My hand is on. This is the unit, because this is all...
This is just a display
table.
This
is the display case, okay, because I know a lot of firefighters out there are looking at this saying, okay, where do I fit this into? Well, seriously. So I just want to make it really clear, this is all the space I need to get an active air purification system into the cab of my rig.
Yes.
So the display that we built, we did this because all of our common rooms here at the factory and all of our factories throughout the country, pre-build rooms, conference rooms, that sort of thing, we have this technology on all the time. It's available in a 110 version as well. So a lot of departments have actually bought it to install it and plug it into their day rooms and their firehouses and all for that increased protection.
You know, because in my years of service, I never went to work with a firefighter who had a cold or the flu. They never do that. They never show up so that they can save their sick days to use as vacation days. We used to have, I had friends that went to work when they were sick. They said, why would I stay home when I'm sick? Because you're sick. So this is a great idea. So I can put this in my bunk room, I can put it in my day room, I can put this into any part of the firehouse I want, but most importantly, I can put it into any rig I buy, and should be putting it into any rig I buy.
The biggest complaint you'll get on the rig is firefighters love the smell of fire. And you know when you've run a good call and you get back from that call and someone walks into the station later and they're like, wow, I can smell the fire in the cab. You're not going to smell it anymore. This
Okay.
unit will take that smell out, which means it's taking the harmful stuff out of the air as well.
Okay, so full disclosure, as a kid, I used to pump gas, and when I was stupid, I used to think that smelled good. I'm not that stupid anymore, right? It's like, so it's a great analogy, but you know, back in the day, I raised 3 boys and 3 sons, Jason, and about every year, my wife and I would put on level A hazmat suits, and we'd go in and we'd clean their bathroom. And so my wife would always let me hang the new shower curtain. The old shower curtain would be all busted up and no good. And the new one, you open it up, has that great smell. You know, you stick your head in the bag. You know what you're smelling? That's hydrogen cyanide gas. So that's the kind of thing with firefighters that you have to be aware of, right? So this is going to, you know, the smell of smoke, if you smell enough smoke without having to bring it into the cab or into the firehouse, you know, the smell of smoke is great at a campfire or things like that, but it's not a great smell inside the bunk room. It's certainly not a great smell inside the cab of the rig. So I like that. I like that. And I'll tell you what, I like the size of it. I'm shocked because I was convinced. I saw one in one of our rigs the other day. I think it was the E1. We looked at an E1 the other day, and I saw the unit in the back. And in the back of my head, I was wondering how much is behind that, and there's nothing.
No, and it's very easy to retrofit into a rig. It doesn't have to be done at the time the rig's built. So if you've got a rig now, you can get one of these through your rev dealer, and it's really simple. I mean, you're talking 4 holes to bolt this in and then get power to it, and you're done.
Wow, that's really great. And it's about firefighter health and safety. It's about wellness. I mean, it's a really serious issue. We joke a lot, but anything we can do to minimize our exposure, let's do it, right? You know, Ben Franklin, who was our great-great-grandfather, founded our industry, said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, you know, affordable, lightweight, easy to mount, low maintenance, virtually no maintenance.
Correct.
And there you go. Well, so that's the question. So how will I know if it's not working?
Sure. So there's a small glow inside of it of blue from the bulb, and on the newer units there's a bulb in the top, just a clear piece of plastic that you can see it illuminates blue. So when that's blue, you know it's running, it's operating. And it really, the only maintenance is on an annual basis. You have to change the cell inside, and that's just because the cell eventually will stop producing hydrogen peroxide. So that's the only maintenance, is an annual replacement of the cell.
So it's a one-time annual maintenance issue, 4 bolts, take it off, replace that cell, and I'm back in business.
Yep.
Is that a technician visit, or could we do that ourselves?
Fire department could very easily do it themselves. It comes with a sticker that you put on it, and you put the date on, and there's also a QR code on the side of the unit. If you scan the QR code and register the unit, when you register, you put the date in. You'll get an email generated 11 months later saying it's time to order a new cell. You're coming up on your replacement cycle.
Wow, you guys thought of everything.
We're trying. We talk a lot about, you've heard a lot of talk over the last few days about clean cabs. So it's really important to understand this is not just a SARS-CoV-2 response. This is for mold, mildew, all kinds of things you face. A lot of people are worried about carcinogens today. Now, we won't go out and say that it treats all carcinogens because you need third-party testing to do that. But we have tested on some carcinogens. In our test booklet, there's a test on formaldehyde, which is a known carcinogen. It neutralizes formaldehyde. Probably the biggest thing that people need to understand is it's not capturing and holding viruses. It's actively going out and neutralizing them in the air.
The mold issue is a real issue for fire stations and fire departments around the country. A lot of our older stations, so that's a I hadn't even thought about that. That's a fantastic. So I could put these into my spaces in the fire stations. Again, how big an area would this cover?
1,000 square feet, and that's assuming an 8-foot tall ceiling, so 8,000 cubic feet.
8,000 cubic feet. Okay.
That's a nice size room that we can cover.
Yeah. Wow. Anything else, guys?
I think that's good, but as I did say before, we do have these in stock and they can be shipped immediately, so feel free to contact your local rev dealer and see if we can't get one to your fire station.
The last thing that I would say with it is there's a lot of technology on the market today. There's a lot of different systems out there. You want to be careful when you're buying a system, and this isn't a sales pitch on this one. Any system you buy, check the certification on it. Make sure it's third-party tested, specific to the things you're worried about. Make sure it's tested in a chamber. We see tests on the market that are done in a shoebox. Well, I can kill a virus in a small space in a shoebox. Can I kill it inside that big cab? You saw the cab on Calgary, it was massive. Can I cover that area? And that's what's important. We've tested to prove that.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry, thank you. Jason,
sir.
I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
having you guys. Thanks for another piece of fantastic technology to keep us safer and healthier and all that good stuff. So we're getting close to the wrap up. I know we've got a CEO video, but I'd like to bring Mike in with me now. So Mike and I are going to visit. This is the boss, so I've got to behave myself. Sit on down, boss. How'd we do so far?
Well, I want to take a minute and personally thank you. We said 2 days ago when we started this, you told us all, don't be nervous, don't be worried, you're going to carry us through. And, you know, having done a little bit of this last year, you made this an amazing event. And I can tell you, all the guys that you carried through this, it's been amazing. You know, we went on a journey, we showed you our products, we showed you what, you know, all that we have to offer. And you know, I said yesterday in our roundtable, but I'll say again, you know, I get asked, probably the number one question I get asked is, how does Rev make all this work? All these brands, all these products, and how does it blend together? And I think if you stay tuned for all these, you'll get a really good idea of what that picture looks like, right? What we're doing to make this all work. And at the end of the day, it's about the customer, number one. It's customer safety, getting the customer getting the product they want, the time that they want it, that's going to do the job that it can do. But it's about our dealers, and we're going to meet with our dealers tomorrow, but it's about the dealer relationship with that customer. Those are the two most important things. That the products have to be great, and we have to continue to innovate, and we have to keep bringing products to keep people safe. But at the end of the day, it's a people business, and so couldn't be prouder of my team. Kent's team, really, when you get to it. He couldn't be here today, but Kent's team. But you couldn't be prouder of our guys and gals and what they've done and how they pulled this together. This is months worth of work. And before we end, I'm going to ask to do something, and I don't know if it's going to work or not, but can we take a camera, and can you pan a camera around for me and show what is going on behind the scenes here? Is there a possible way for you to do that?
Sure.
So just so you all get an idea, this is what it takes to pull this off. These are the cameras and all the wires and all the lights and all the things in our studio. And for those of you watching this that are firemen and those of you that are dealers, you know this isn't the world we live in every day. So I really can't thank the film crew, Clarion, enough for kind of helping bring us along this journey. It's just been fantastic. And there's the cheat sheet board that he's panning by right now. So again, when he comes back forward here, we'll... Yes, I know. So I'll let you throw to that. We're not quite done yet. We got a couple things to go. But again, just last but not least, my friend, thank you so much for taking us on this journey. We really appreciate it. So.
Thank you for the opportunity. I love what I do. I love the fire service, and I love our good partners, and Rev is certainly one of our best partners. They're one of our best friends. They've always been kind to us at FDIC and fire engineering, and they're quality people. George Washington once said, mind your company. In other words, it's better to be alone than to be in bad company. And you're in good company when you're with Rev, and I really mean that. I had a great week. You know, we've been back at the hotel, and there's been men and women there who are picking up their rigs, and they're thrilled to be here. They're falling all over themselves. They're just excited. They're making new friends with the folks that work in the shop. That they love the people who sold them the rigs, and we've got people from all these different brands who are like brothers and sisters to one another. So it's just been a wonderful experience, and I've had a great time. So, I appreciate the thank you, but and don't tell my bosses, but I would have done it for a little less money. Just that I'm just kidding. It was a pleasure, and it was a great opportunity. Right now, I'd like to throw it to my friend's boss, to Mike's boss. This is the CEO of Rev, correct? President of Rev. Now I just demoted the president. I demoted you day one. So now that so as a former employee of Clarion, I'd like to, so hey, so this is President Kent Tyler. This is a message from the president, and then we'll be back right after the president's message. President Tyler, please.
It's been an exciting week, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. On behalf of everyone within Rev Fire Group, all our incredible brands, our dealers throughout the country, throughout all of North America, we just want to say thanks. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of this incredible event. And more importantly, we can't wait, quite frankly, to see you in person at FDIC in August in Indianapolis. So again, thank you for being part of the second annual Rev Fire Truck Expo, and we will see you soon.
So we're not technically done yet. We're going to go do a roundtable right now. So what I'd like you to do, if you're watching, switch over to your roundtable platform, and we're going to have a live discussion in there. We're going to kind of look at the entire 3-day program that we just completed. We've got a lot to cover. We've got a small window, and we have a few things we'd like to give away. Our books division has given us a few great gifts. So we're going to, if you ask a great question, you might find yourself getting a great book. So right now, I'd like to let everybody know we've got how many minutes before we go live in the roundtable, Mr. Producer? How long before roundtable? I can't. 13 minutes? So we've got 13 minutes. Am I allowed to break early? Because I'm out of jokes. I'm just kidding. So 13 minutes from now, join us on the roundtable, and we'll bring this home strong.